prisoners, with the limitations and everything that comes with being confined to the space, they're still finding ways to make money. It's like, what happens if I run to one of these dudes, you know? And it's happened, but it's more of a friendly, hey, what's up, CO? It was the craziest thing. Like, why would a beautiful young lady, you know, in her 30s want to marry a 75-year-old serial or, you know, death row inmate?
Is there any red flags that stand out of like, yeah, I've seen people act like that before or whatever?
Anybody's trying to show any kind of crypto? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking, man. I'm just joking. So, in talking with them, and so I'll ask them straight up, like, damn, why'd you do that to these college girls? I didn't do that. Like, I didn't do that. There's no video of me doing it. Actually, there's just DNA, but I didn't do that. I think crime should have a bigger penalty in today's day. But here in California, that's not the case. It's actually the reverse is happening. I think they had a first child born from a situation like this. It was a male inmate who identified as a woman, went into a female institution, all women prison, and then he impregnated another inmate. For numbers, you need to do about, I'll say 30 to really start seeing like the $10,000 months. How can I sleep better at night? With no stress, right? When I had the $50,000, $60,000 in inventory tied up with Amazon, like I didn't sleep well at night.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Side Hustle Experiment podcast. Today we have Timo. He sold on Amazon. He was a corrections officer in California, and then he left his full-time job to sell on Amazon. He did about $800,000 at the height of it. Now he doesn't even sell on Amazon. He does the influencer program full-time. So I'm going to have a blast on this podcast. So thanks so much for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, you were hitting on how you got into the reselling stuff. Start there, because I'm sure people are going to find that so interesting.
So I started, I guess you can say reselling like at a young age, right? Like in elementary school, just selling whatever I could find. One of the things I was selling was like tennis balls. I would go with my dad or my stepdad to a baseball game. There was a tennis court nearby, and a lot of the people that were playing, they would just hand me the tennis balls, throw them over to me, and then what I would do, I'll go back to school and I'll start selling them for like 50 cents, right? And then I got in trouble. So I got in trouble, and so we got to talk to your mom. You can't be reselling in school. So, okay. So fast forward to my previous profession as a correctional officer, prison guard here in California. So I started 10 years ago, and it didn't really, I wasn't really paying attention as much in the beginning because I was young. I was 23, 24 when I started. I was working San Quentin death row, so it was I was young. It was a new career, and I was so more focused on like, damn, I'm just trying to make it out of here alive in one piece every day, you know. So it wasn't until like a few years later where I started really getting into like prison gangs, started understand a little bit more how they operate in the prison and how that decisions they make and how they control things that happen outside in the prison system, right? So that's why I started kind of getting more into like the politics and the day-to-day stuff within the prison, the inmate population. So then I started getting into it's more into like prison gangs, and I became what's called a gang expert and studying like prison gangs like the Mexican mafia and things like that, right? And it wasn't until then I started really seeing like not only like in the day-to-day in the job, but I started paying attention on this operation and how they make money inside prison, right? Because a lot of times we think, so for example, you have, and I've been around many inmates, prisoners that were busted or, you know, doing time for like drug trafficking, trafficking weapons into Mexico, things like that. And what really stood out to me was, even though that they got busted for that on the street and they're doing time because of that, the hustle didn't change. Like that same mindset that they had on the street carried over and spilled over into the prison, into their life in prison, the day-to-day stuff. how they're going to make money, right? So they continue that in the prison by smuggling drugs into the prison and then distributing, call it distribution, or selling it amongst the other prison population, amongst other races as well. So if you have a Mexican Hispanic that smuggles drugs into prison some way, then they're going to sell it to other races as well, with whether it be the blacks, their own, Mexicans, or it could be like the others, Asians, or things like that, or the whites. So that's when I really started like understanding this concept, right? Like, hold up, they're doing this with like not only, now this doesn't only happen with like contraband, right? Like drugs, cell phones, things like that. It also happens with like the commissary, what we call like the items that they get, that they're able to purchase from like what we call a canteen or the store that they'll have like a catalog, and the catalog will have pricing, right? And it's funny because like in wholesale, it's kind of like the same thing, right? You get a supplier, you get the catalog, and the catalog has pricing of how much these things cost. Well, that same pricing is going to be used when it comes to reselling that product, or that the soup or the bar of soap, when it comes to flipping that in the prison system or inside prison, right? So that's when like I mentioned, that's when I first really started grasping this concept, like, and I really started seeing like, then these prisoners, with the limitations and everything that comes with being confined to the space, they're still finding ways to make money, right? The hustle continues even inside prison, which is, it's not permitted, right, what they're doing, but they're still doing it. So it was pretty interesting to me. So that's when I really first started learning about it. I just didn't put two and two together at the time, where like, hold up, I could be doing this at a bigger scale, legally on Amazon. Like at the time, it just didn't click. It was till later on where I really started seeing, okay, well, I could do this on Amazon. Hold up, I could go to the Lego store, purchase a Lego set that's in high demand, that's not available like online, and I can check the price on Amazon and flip it like that. That concept didn't click to me until a few years ago, which is why I started as reselling on Amazon. So that's kind of how I first started reselling or understanding this concept and then getting into it myself. But I started at an early age. Like I was a little hustler, like way in the beginning, But like I mentioned, when I spent all those years working in prison, that's when I really started understanding that. So
it sounds like all this like life experience for the prison thing kind of tapped into like, oh, I was a hustler as a kid. You probably lost the hustle because everybody gets a job. You kind of just go through your day to day, and you're like, wait a second, if these guys can make money in here, I could definitely do it out there. It sounds like
surprised.
Like an unlock, right? Of like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. So did you just go straight to YouTube, or you like, how did you transition into, okay, I can do something more than just what I'm doing now?
So I was working with a buddy of mine who at the time we were working in so I worked in 3 California state prisons, one of them being San Quentin, death row, the other one being a maximum security prison in the desert border with Mexico. Different kind of inmate population. And then the last few years I spent here at a prison nearby where I live, Southern California. It's more like the older population, more medical issues, but still prison politics still goes on. I was working with a buddy, coworker, and he was doing Amazon. He had the whole VA, and that was a side hustle. So I was working one day. This was in 2020 during like the pandemic, during COVID. And I was sitting there. I was like, man, I really need a lot of things transpired for me to like really want to find something to eventually like walk away from that job. Right, my mental health was deteriorating. I had a son. I was looking to get married. I was looking to buy a house. So mainly it was, I had a lot of plans that I wanted to do, but the job just didn't align with my values anymore. Like it wasn't fun anymore. I wasn't looking forward to going to work, especially during the height of the pandemic. During the time in prison, it was a lot of uncertainty. So that's why I really wanted to try something different. Working with a buddy, he was doing it, sparked my interest, And then he was kind of explaining me like this whole VA thing and how the VA finds some leads, and he was doing like wholesale. And I was like, okay, well, let me look into it a little bit more. So I started just on my own, just YouTube, and then opened my Amazon account. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I said, fuck it, I'm gonna figure this shit out because this is my ticket out. This is my lifeline that's gonna be able to allow me to walk away from this. And here we are, a few years later. But that's how I started. It was that desperate. I was in desperation to find something else, and for me, it just made sense that I had somebody I worked with who was doing it, who I trusted, and I said, okay, let me give it a shot. So if I had any questions or anything like that, he would steer me in the right direction. What's funny is that he doesn't work for the Department of Corrections anymore either. So he quit shortly before I did, a few months before I did, and now he does TikTok Shop full time and crypto trading.
Nice. Well, John, you get into some influencer questions because I really want to talk about prison stuff, but we'll save that till the end.
I have like so many questions.
Yeah, we'll talk about all. What's funny is a lot of people. I get this a lot because people don't really understand like what goes on inside prison and like the day-to-day stuff, the politics. So for me, spending a decade in there, it's it was just an experience that I've learned. People ask me all the time, "Oh, how was it?" "Oh my God," I was like, did you see so and so in there? He was a serial killer or whatever. I'm like, yeah, But yeah, man, ask away.
Yeah, so I have one of my favorite shows was actually Prison Break. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, I never seen it, but yeah, I have.
It's so cool. So I guess if you can't like answer any questions, just like say so for like legal reasons or whatever. But like, how does like one basically like get a cell phone into prison? And it almost seems that like you guys know that they're reselling all this stuff, but like, do you just let it go, or it's like hard to detect? Or, like,
there's a few different kind of avenues that they use, right? So in prison, not only do you have custody staff, what we call, like your correction officers, your supervisors, the up the chain of command, like the hiring authority, like the warden and everyone below him. That's the custody side. Then you have the free staff. Free staff is like the education, right? The programs that they have for inmates, like school. They have like stuff like swimming lessons, depending what prison you're at, right? They have like just different programs that they have for inmates to kind of take their mind off of like being in a prison, and then making them teaching them skills so they can use when they parole or when they get released, right? They do that, but they use these different programs, different things that the state gives them or puts in place, and they leverage that. They take advantage of that, and they look for opportunities how they can get. Oh, you know what? Let me see how I could get a phone in here. Let me ask this teacher, or let me ask the cook. The cook. They usually have a crew of inmates that they work with. And what happens is they start usually like around 3 a.m. when like everyone's still asleep. There's very minimal staff, and they look for those kind of opportunities. Okay, let me ask the cook. I'll offer them some kind of compensation. Obviously, the cash doesn't. So there's no. It's not a cash-based like operation in prison, right? When it comes to inmates, it's more like the bartering system. But when it comes to trying to get a phone in via staff, like let me tell the staff members, see if they can bring one in. I'll offer them X amount. My people on the outside would, they'll meet up with them, pay them, and then the staff member will smuggle it into the prison. That's one way. All right, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a cook, whether it's some kind of staff or a nurse, they find ways to do this by manipulating the staff members. Obviously, there's monetary compensation that they will get by doing this for them. Another way is going to be visiting, right? So every weekend, inmates have visitors that come, family members that come see them. So they try to find, again, a way to smuggle phones, drugs. But the visitor finds a way to do that, and then they'll make the drop off. Another way would be drones. Drones at nighttime is kind of a newer way that I've seen. Um, somebody on the outside will be, make the drop. So and so that goes to work, an inmate that goes to work in the morning. Part of the kitchen staff, the cooking staff in the morning would know where the drop is. They'll pick it up and then they do what they do. So that's a couple different ways that they, smuggle not only phones but drugs inside the prisons. It's by staff or by their own visitors or by using technology like drones. So there's a couple different ways that they use to smuggle stuff in like that. Or also, really quick, also what I've seen is staff, like correction officers as well, get in trouble for that as well or fired.
Yeah, so what's this stuff's going on? Like, what's the point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna stop this, or do you just kind of like turn a blind eye because maybe that guy's powerful or whatever? Like, how similar is that to the movies? That's like, that's our only reference is like
right.
TV.
So okay, have you tried to go after everything and all of it? Okay, so you have a housing unit. Best way I can put this, I'm trying to think of a movie. But let's say you have a cell block. Okay, cell block has, here in California, have 200 cells. There's, 100 cells and 2 inmates per cell, which is up to the max capacity will be 200 inmates in a housing unit. There's a lot of activity going on, right? If you sit there and from the control panel, you look at the different movement, everyone is doing something with the intent to make money or with the intent to make money for somebody else, or they're planning some kind of like a hit. A hit would be like, so-and-so didn't pay their debt, so we're going to go take care of them. Things like that, right? It's day-to-day stuff that they do. Mainly is making money. So as a prison staff member, your job is to go and make sure that, well, first of all, your job is for the safety and security of the institution, the prison, right? Make sure there's nobody escapes and make sure that everyone is alive and breathing at all times. Like that's your main job. But it's a public safety job, so it's make sure to keep these inmates confined and to make sure that they don't, commit any harm amongst them. Now, the second part is, there's drugs in this. There's drugs in this prison, in these cells. There's cell phones in not all of them, but in the majority of the cells. So what do I do? Right? You can go look for all that, but you're gonna have a very hard career. You're gonna have a very hard time, day-to-day stuff, the stress of trying to do this all the time, and then it's gonna spill over into your personal life, right? Because that's how I was when I first started. I said, "Oh yeah, I'm a correctional officer. Let me go find all this stuff, the phones, the drugs," and it's way too much stress on yourself to try and do that. Now, how you do this is the one thing that you maintain during your shift. Let's say you're working inside a housing unit in the cell block. The one thing that you want to maintain is order and respect, right? That's two main things that will make you have a long career and not stress yourself out too much. Is just maintain that respect, mutual respect. You're going to treat them with respect, and they're going to treat you with respect. The moment that line gets crossed, then you go and do what you got to do, right? Meaning now you go and enforce okay, I know there's drugs in here. I know there's cell phones in here. Let me go find them. Let me go, because what happens is if you find that stuff, somebody has to pay that back, right? So if I go in the cell and I find a phone, right? Well, they could have just been borrowing it, right? They could have just been lent it from the inmate down the way. Well, if I catch it and I take it, confiscate it, well, now they're dead. Now they got to pay that phone to so and so on top of what the fee was to use the phone, right? So for the most part, if you sit there and you look at the activity that's going on, you kind of have an understanding or an idea of who has what, right? Or what's kind of going on. the cell that gets the most attention, the cell that gets the most or gets the most visits by inmates. They call it coming to the pad or like hitting the pad. That's where you kind of know, like, okay, this person is either they got something in there, they're giving directions for something. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that. So in short, no, you don't spend every day trying to catch all this. When it's time to do it, then you kind of have to, okay, let me see where I'm going to go first. You pop the cell open, take the inmates out, you go in there, and then you just take the stuff that they're not supposed to have, right? So that's kind of how that was my style, right? That was my style. But then you have other correction officers that did do that. They would spend their 8-hour shift just trying to be the hero and trying to find everything they could. We all get paid the same, right? There's no bonus, there's no incentive to stuff. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna find 10 cell phones and I'm gonna make an extra $1,000 today. Like, there's no incentive for that. Does that make sense? So, in short, that's kind of how the day-to-day stuff goes.
I would think there'd probably be a bit of a negative, like like these people. I'm sure if you're in these like really strong prisons and stuff, they probably have a bit of connection to people outside. They can probably mess your life up, right? Is that ever?
So that's always something to be, I don't want to say worried about, but you should understand that can happen, right? Like, so every prison, at least the ones that I've worked, for the most part, all prisons, but this one here in particular was, it's called Calipatria State Prison. That was, it's remote in the desert and it housed like the maximum security murderers, like gang members. They're doing live without. They really have nothing to lose, right? So for me, it was in my best interest to conduct myself with respect, amongst, like mutually. They understand that we have a job to do, but as long as you treat everyone with respect, they will treat you with respect as well. Because there's people in there, there's prisoners in there that run the streets. Like, they, with one phone call, like, stuff happens in the streets, right? Without getting too much into the detail. But that's how much power some of these guys have, especially when it comes to like the prison gang members, i.e. Mexican mafia. That's how much power these people have inside the prison, and the influence that they had outside in the street gangs. So you want to conduct yourself with respect, mutually, right? Because you understand like the power that they have. But at the same time, you have a job to do, and they understand that as well. So as long as they're not out in the open, doing stuff that's disrespectful, smoking weed in the cell in the unit, or smoking cigarettes, contraband, out in the open, just kind of in your face, then there's always a fine line, and that as long as that fine line doesn't get crossed, then it's good. So, but there's always that concern, obviously, especially now, like, I have a family, and that's my number one priority. But I feel like I've, over the last, course of my career, I carried myself with respect, mutually, like I mentioned. So at first, when I first left, I was a little paranoid. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, damn, like, I busted a bunch of dudes with like drugs and like cell phones, and now California's releasing a lot of these inmates. It's like, what happens if I run to one of these dudes, And it's happened, but it's more of a friendly, like, hey, what's up, CO? Well, I don't work there no more. Oh man, he was cool, man. He was cool, So yeah, so that's kind of how it was, or how it is.
That's great. Like, it almost seems to me like it isn't that far fetched from like kind of TV and the movies. I mean, obviously it depends on the movies and TV shows, but like it kind of seems also that there's almost a mutual understanding between you guys. Like, we know you guys are doing a bunch of bad shit. like we don't want any trouble and we don't want to cause any trouble, so like we're both cool, like let's
Stay under the radar. Stay
like
under the
maintain
radar.
the peace. And like, because I'm guessing, like, are there more? There are probably more prisoners than guards, I would assume.
Yeah. So I think when there was they released a bunch since I left, but when I was in, it was like 200 to 1 or something, the ratio, something like that. So if you have a full yard, it'll be like 8 to 1,000 inmates, and there was probably like 10 staff members, and then you have a couple towers with the guns. So yeah, I would say like 12 or so on a shift. But it's a 24-hour operation, so that's why you have different officers, on shift. So it's not that far from like the movies, but there's a lot of violence. I remember my first time kind of experiencing that. I'm not gonna lie, man. It was like, and I grew up in the hood. Like I'm from a city here in California, San Bernardino, California. It's like it's like top 10 dangerous cities, right? And I grew up like seeing like violent shit. But when you see to the like how gruesome some of these murders that get carried out in the prisons and in prison, you're like, damn. Like the first time I seen that, I was rethinking this job, man. I was like, I don't know if I can go back. Like this is crazy. Seeing it firsthand, like with the what we call inmate manufactured weapon and how they carried out what they call the hit.
And who's the most like? Did you see anybody famous in prison like that we would know? Or are you even allowed to say that? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't work there no more, so I can say whatever I want. Now, if I work there, I have to be very careful what I say.
Yeah.
All right. So now it's like, okay, so Scott Peterson.
Oh yeah,
I think there was a documentary on Netflix.
yeah. He murdered his family, didn't he?
He murdered his pregnant wife, threw her in the Monterey Bay. He was a he got the death penalty. He was a high profile when he landed in San Quentin. I was there. He was a high profile inmate. So because he was on death row and his case was like, all over the media, they had to segregate him away from the general death row population because they wanted to chop his head off just because like of who he was and the case. But what's crazy is really quick. I didn't realize how much women, especially women from like Europe and like other parts of the world, are fascinated by death row inmates, specifically like serial killers or like high profile inmates like that. To where like they would come visit them, they would put money on their, give them money on their books so they can buy a commissary and stuff like that. And I even seen like weddings happen in prison with like death row inmates. And the reason this happened, I later found out, was some women just, I don't know, they just love that. I don't know what it is that they see in them. They come to see them. No matter how old they are, they like that. But I did see one day I was working in visiting, so I was letting the visitors come from the outside into the section where they're going to visit the inmates. So this was San Quentin 2015. And she gave me her ID, and I was okay. Who are you gonna come see? Okay, so I looked at who she was gonna see, and 70-year-old. He was like 1980s, like serial killer documentary. You can YouTube him, and he'll pop up. But she was in a wedding gown, and she was from Germany, and she went inside the visiting room, and then there was I think it was a priest came in and blessed them and holy matrimony, and they got married. So for me, it was like the most craziest thing. Like, why would a beautiful young lady, in her 30s, want to marry a 75-year-old serial or death row inmate? When she came out, I asked her. I said, "Oh, it's your congratulations." I go, "Can I ask you, like, why, like why him? Like why not just like somebody, normal?" And she said, well, I want a green card. So that was our citizenship. Or a lot of times they had money. Like a lot of these inmates had money somehow, whether through inheritance or like some way they had a lot of money. So they knew if they married somebody that was older, that they don't really have to like, spend so much time with, maybe just write to them, visit them every now and then, that they would inherit everything that they have. So not only are they going to get the citizenship, but they're also going to get everything that, any kind of inheritance is going to come to them. So that was the strategy behind all these women. And it happened a lot, like a lot. So yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy.
Did you get, I'm sure you did. How good did you get at like reading people when they came in? Like, could you see people come in and be like, that guy's going to get killed, or like, that guy's a big boss? Like, could you kind of point these people out like really quickly when they came in, like how their experience was probably going to be?
Yeah. So it depended on, it all depended on like, the type of prison you're at, right? Because in prison, you have what's called the general population, and then you have protective custody, or like SNY, what they call sensitive needs yard. So your general population is going to be your, just uh, uh, Hispanic, whites, or blacks that commit a crime, that don't have to do anything with. Well, let me go back a little bit. So general population is going to be anything that any kind of inmate that is not a snitch, uh, committed any kind of murder against women or a child. So those typically go into the general population. When they're in the general population, depending on race, they're going to get segregated by the race, right? So, and then you have the sensitive needs yard, or protective custody. So these are people who are gang dropouts, snitched on their gang or on their people, or committed a crime against women or children. So two different ones, right? So in the general population, for the most part, everyone that came in conducted themselves because they knew what they're coming into, right? They're coming into like, their life is in danger like at all times. So they knew that they have to carry themselves like in a way that just stayed under the radar and follow everything that their race or their people suggested they do. In like protective custody, which is the other part of the prison, the snitches. I say snitch because that's the lingo in prison. But anyone that kind of like tells, like, oh, um, there you have some weirdos. There you have like like the child molesters. There you have like the rapists. So they were already coming in kind of weird, So they would have a little harder time amongst them, and giving us a hard time because they don't really have a structure, right? Like general population does. They're usually structured. Each race has their own code of ethics or like thing or that they abide by, so that anything outside of that they're going to get dealt with. But what's funny is that now I'm really good at like seeing right through people's bullshit. Like I could just see somebody and I could just see like, oh yeah, this dude or like this person is they're no good, or yeah, that's somebody I won't really interact with. And it's crazy because like now I'm getting into this online space, like a little bit more doing like content or trying to do content now. Because this is all new to me. But like even in the online space, you can see right through some of these content creators or whatever, like some like right through the BS, right through the bullshit. I could see like who's actually like doing something and then trying to like if they're trying to sell something to people online, I can see if they're just trying to hustle them, or I can see they're like legit, like what this person is. He legit has experience in whatever it is he's trying to teach others to do, if that makes sense. So I guess being in that environment for so long, I kind of picked up on that, and I kind of learned how to read people just by looking at them. So it's kind of, I guess it's kind of a good thing now, right? I could kind of just see,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. So do you have any like tips on that? I feel like that's like the average person, we all get messages about people getting scammed and like what to look for. Like, how do you, what makes it where you can like uniquely see through people like this guy's full of shit or not? Like, cause everybody's got their intuitive instinct, but some people have
Right.
bad intuitive instinct. So what kind of things do you see? Like, is there any like red flags that stand out of like, yeah, I've seen people act like that before or whatever?
You talking about like online or just like in general, like when I'm out?
Well, I'm not more important.
Oh, online. Anybody's trying to show any kind of crypto? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking, man. I'm just joking. No. I think for me it's just like a something that I kind of learned over a long period of time. So for me, I think just in general, if they're trying to like just sell, like they're showing you like the Lambo, they're showing you like, hey, look at me, check this out. Um, you can get here too by just simply paying the fee that I charge to teach you how to do this. I think for me that's kind of where like the red flag goes off, and it's a lot easier to do it like just like on every day. Like I'm out and about, and I just kind of see it. First thing I look at is tattoos. That's the first thing I look at. Is does somebody have tattoos? What kind of tattoos they have? Because when I worked in prison, that's kind of the first thing I saw. Is I could tell if it's a tattoo that was in prison, and then what does that tattoo say, or what kind of tattoo do they have? So it kind of triggers like something in me, like okay, this person's either been in prison or they're kind of affiliated or associated with that kind of life, or maybe at some point they were. So physically, that's the first thing I look at when I'm like out and about, or even like online as well. So, but it's on a case by case basis. Like it's going to be different for everyone every person I come across. Um, but that's kind of like one of the things that I look for is stuff like that.
Yeah, sweet. What you got, John?
What would you kind of, I'm like kind of fascinated by this tattoo thing. So like I guess a course creator, right? If they have like tattoos or whatever, like kind of, you're like, oh, they might have been in jail, or like, how do you kind of go about that?
I'll try to see if I could pick it out, or try to make sense of like what they have. Like uh, I'll probably like maybe click on their page, just kind of scroll through some of their stuff, and just kind of see what they're about first. And then just kind of make my judgment from there. But it's something that's kind of just ingrained in me now after for so long. Like it just stuff that I learned like that just doesn't just automatically go away. Like I'm always like on, you know, looking for these cues that are gonna, let me know potentially how somebody can be. So when it's like somebody online that has tattoos like that, yeah, I'll check it out. I'll see if I can make out what it is, and then I kind of just go from there. Okay, this person's been in prison before. Or this person's kind of like been affiliated or associated with like that kind of life at some point. But it's just like I said, it's just something that because I spent so long working in prison, that's kind of something that just naturally just happens. Because when the first thing I see when I was working in prison is tattoos, right? So first thing I'll see, okay, this person's associated with this gang. This person, is affiliated with this gang. They've done this based on the tattoo. So it's just naturally, and then sometimes the tattoos honestly just really have no meaning like that. But me is just something I just do know just naturally. So I'm always on that kind of heightened awareness when it comes to that. Just because I spent so long in there, you become what's called institutionalized in a way, even as a staff member, because everything in prison is on a time. Everything's on a time. You have to conduct yourself a certain way, not only with your colleagues but with like the prison population. So that just doesn't go away. Even that having worked there in over a year now, it doesn't go away. I'm always like, the one thing that always gets me is like any kind of whistles or any kind of like loud, um, like a like basketball, like the basketball horn, like the sound, like that's because that's how the alarms in prison sound. So when I kind of hear it, I'm like, I jump up because that's our cue. That's our letting us know, hey, there's something going on. There's a fight. There's somebody getting stabbed. Things like that. So yeah, there's things. Even though I haven't worked it, there's still things that kind of just don't go away. You know what I mean? And it's in some cases it's good. You know, I guess you could say that. So
Who the most famous person you'd seen? You said Scott Peters, right? That's the name.
as far as profile, like Scott Peterson, but there was on death row. Death row now, I think they're doing away with it now here in California. So they're slowly, I won't say re-sentencing them to, instead of the death penalty, they're getting life without. I think life without the possibility of parole. Without the possibility of parole. The difference is they have more freedom now in prison, so they have a little bit more access to like what they can buy, visitors. They have more freedom amongst the population, so more drugs, things like that. But if you go on like just Google like California serial killers, a lot of them have the death penalty, and there's documentaries on a lot of them. I remember when I was I was very interested, so I would be on the computer and just kind of look up all the crimes, and I'll Google them, and then I'll find like YouTube documentary or a documentary on YouTube about these guys. And I was like, man, these guys, some of the crimes they committed, you're like, damn, how could somebody do this? But to be honest, they're not really. Yeah, they're confined to the cell, but they're living good. You know, you know, they get 3 meals a day. They get commissary. They get visitors. Some get married when they're there. So, yeah, it's you're paying for the crime, but I mean, the whole purpose of the death penalty is to you know to get on the to get penalized with death, and that doesn't happen here in California. I think the last one was in 2006. After Tookie Williams, there was one more, and that was it.
Is what do you like from your? That was my question. Actually, I was going to ask. Like, you see these people. I feel like that's what everybody says. Like, how could someone possibly commit that crime? And then you like actually meet these people. So, do you see these people that like commit like heinous stuff? Do you saw them and talk to them? You interact with them? Like,
They didn't do it. They all of them are innocent. And right, because what they do there. So in California, when you got the death penalty, you could appeal. In most cases, you could appeal your penalty, and then you start the whole appeals process. So you kind of almost have to convince yourself that you didn't do it.
yeah.
So in talking with them, and so I'll ask them straight up, like, "Damn, why'd you do that to these college girls?" I didn't do that. Like, I didn't do that. There's no video of me doing it. Actually, there's just DNA, but I didn't do that. So that was a mindset amongst a lot of these prisoner or death row inmates, was they never did that. Now, if you're talking about like maximum security, general population, where like they're out a little bit more free. There's no death penalty. A lot of them, they do admit or they do acknowledge that they committed a crime, but their hope is that one day they're going to get out. So two different kind of inmates. Some acknowledge it, some don't. But what was interesting is some of these, like, and the ones that were open about it and they would tell you, it was really interesting to really like understand how they carried out some of these crimes. So one of them was he was smuggling ammunition into Mexico for the drug cartels, and he was southern Mexican. He was a Mexican, and what happened was he was making so much money doing this. Some of the competition was hating, and I think someone dimed him out or they snitched on him, so he got busted. So now he's in prison. So even in that kind of like life of crime, there's still like competition. If amongst them, people committing the crimes. It's kind of interesting. But then I was talking to another person or another inmate. He was doing credit card fraud. So he was, getting all these people's information. He would tell me how to do it or how he did it. Not how to do it, how he did it. And he goes, yeah, this is what I was doing. And then I bought all this stuff and then I got busted, with just people using people's identity and just, I was like, man, some of these guys are they really thought all this through and then now they're busted. But like I mentioned in the beginning, that doesn't stop on the street because they got busted or because they got caught. That carries over into inside the walls, and they find different ways to make money. Whether it's, like I mentioned, reselling some of the hygiene stuff, some of the food that you can buy, phones, drugs. Maybe they were a barber or they know how to cut hair. They'll sell that service. Tattoos, if they know how to tattoo, they'll tattoo for a fee. If a lot of inmates don't know how to write, so they wanted to write a love letter to their girlfriends, I'll go to you. I'll pay you a couple soups and a deodorant, and then you can write a letter for me so I could mail out to my girlfriend. Things like that. These are different ways that they were generating money for themselves. But it's not money. It's in terms of like food, contraband, things like that.
Wow.
What you got, John?
Yeah, I guess that stuff's probably more valuable than money because I guess money doesn't really. It's not like you go to a store or anything or do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because it's not a cash-based system inside prison amongst them. The cash is useless in there. So that's why they use this whole other bartering system with stuff and contraband and services. Sometimes I will get into that, but I was gonna say I'm in California, so now California they're housing transgender inmates in men's facilities, or I'm sorry, it's a male prison. Some of the prisoners identify as women, so they start getting the whole surgeries, and now you got a whole area of prostitution going on. But that's that's a whole other thing to talk about.
I'm interested, so you spoke on not that, but you spoke on like them getting out of prison, the no death penalty, but it sounds like you feel like that's probably what some of these people deserve. Like in terms of all the politics and stuff that goes on in the real world about like crime and all that stuff, is there any opinions you can give on that are like concrete? Because it's like everybody can give their opinion on, how harsh this stuff should be. Do we have too many inmates, that type of thing? But the person that's in there that's dealing with these people every day is probably the best to give an opinion on that kind of stuff. I feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm in California. California has become very loose and on some of these sentences for some of the crimes that they commit. So I think they're not hard enough. And I think when they're in prison, I think they have too much freedom, right? Before I was born, like in the 80s and the 90s, prison was actually like prison. Like you're in a cell, no TV, no radio, none of that, right? You're staying in your cell pretty much all day. There's no educational programs, none of that. It feels like prison, I would say, and during that time, right? Because you committed a crime, now you're having to pay the penalty for that. Now it's a little bit more, you're confined to the space, but you also have freedom in there, right? You still have programs available. You still have access to like drugs if you have money, things like that. So for me, in my personal opinion, I think crime should have a bigger penalty in today's day. But in general, but here in California, that's not the case. It's actually the reverse is happening. They're becoming a lot more lenient when it comes to some of these sentences these inmates are getting for the crimes that they commit. And they're actually getting, some of these inmates have light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to like being released or paroling one day, when before they didn't. So, yeah, I think if you commit a crime, now every state has their own like laws and stuff like that. What type of how much time you're gonna do, and what prison you're gonna be at. But in general, I think it should be a lot harder than what it is today. And if somebody gets a death penalty, there should be no appeal. It should be okay. You got convicted. All right, within this certain time, you're gonna be the penalty is gonna be carried out. In my personal opinion.
Why do you think it's not like that? Like, why is California turned to this state that's basically like doesn't even care? It seems like, and a lot of states are going that way. Is it just people that have no clue what's going on, or like?
I mean, it's the without getting too much into like politics, but we have politicians here that believe certain, they have their own values and they believe things should be a certain way. Then you have inmates inside the prisons who are filing lawsuits. Oh, this is cruel and cruel and unusual, having us confined to these walls and no sunlight, and we don't have any kind of rehabilitative programs. So therefore, we're like encaged animals, and all we just want to do is act a fool in prison. So you have stuff like that over time that happens to where some of these laws become a little bit more lenient, or they become a little bit more loose when it comes to being enforced. But it's California. It's the politicians that make these decisions. Without getting too much into politics, starting with the governor, but it's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he's talked about all the time for that stuff. I was just curious, somebody lives in California that deals with that stuff. I mean, I feel like your opinion's probably the most valid about it.
Yeah, and what doesn't make sense to this day is I mean, just in general, like if an inmate in a male institution or male prison all of a sudden feels like he's a woman one day, he wakes up, oh, I feel like I'm a woman, so I'm going to start dressing like one. I'm going to start acting like one, talking like one, getting the hormone shots, the estrogen shots like one. Then I'm going to get the surgery, and then I'm going to go and make it to a women's prison. Well, what do you think is going to happen, right? Biologically, he's a man. Yeah, he might have like surgery up here, whatever, but he still got the male genitalia. What do you think is going to happen when he goes into a all-woman prison because he identified as a woman, right? The female population inside the women's facility, they're gonna get. I think they had a first child born from a situation like this. It was a male inmate who identified as a woman, went into California, went into a female institution, all women prison, and then he impregnated another inmate. And then not only that, but then these women are subject to like rape, things like that, from this biologically male inmate. So that stuff does not make sense to me. It does not, because this person, it's a man. Just because he says he identifies as a woman, now he has the ability to go into a women's prison and now do what he does. So that is going on right now, but there's lawsuits coming out of that. But it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why? But I guess, like I mentioned, lawsuits happen. The state of California gets sued. So stuff like that has to take place. So
this is our moment, John. This is what's going to make us famous. We're going to put this clip on Fox News, and it's going to be like corrections officer. That'll be our make it moment. What else you got, John?
Let's circle it back to reselling. So how do you get started, I guess, doing Amazon? Like, kind of what was your business model? And we'll kind of talk about like why you left Amazon and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I did I opened my account after I was talking with my buddy who was doing it, and I started kind of just learning Keepa, started watching YouTube videos, learning Keepa, learning how to read the data, things like that. I started doing RA, started going into like, in conjunction with Amazon, I was doing eBay. So I was reselling like Pokemon cards. I still have some. I actually like, I think it's pretty cool to collect them. Like for my son, when he's older, he can have them. But I was reselling stuff like that. And then started getting into like Lego, started going to like Lego stores, finding these sets that were high demand. And then that's kind of what I was doing in the beginning, like a lot of Amazon sellers doing the RA stuff. And then learning, getting the reps in, understanding how FBA works, how to send shipments in, how to FBM. And that's kind of how I started doing it. Then I started doing a little bit of OA, started liking it more because, I mean, I could just buy it from home and then get it shipped to my house, prep it in my garage. And then, but this is all done alongside my job. So when I would go to work, I would just be honestly like, I'll just say it now because I don't care, but I had a laptop in there. I wasn't supposed to have that. So I had a laptop that I smuggled in it. It was in one of the offices that I was in. But what I would do is I would search like source. I would source for product, buy, while I'm at work on my downtime. And that's what I would do. So prep it at home, ship it into Amazon. Then I got a VA, a couple VAs to help me source. And then I got the prep center in Montana, and then I started doing that. And then I started seeing some success with it. Like after doing it for, a year, I started seeing a little bit more success with it. Like okay, now I can start making the 10 grand profit months. Like, okay, this is pretty cool. But then like you invest that money back into the business. So it's like that 10 grand is not really like, it's an inventory. So what I would do, since I wasn't taking any kind of money out, I would, because I had a job, I would just reinvest everything back in. Well, at the same time, I was really hitting a low with the career, with my job, like my mental health. 2022, my son was born. And so I was curious about it in 2020. Late 2021 is when I opened my account, around the Q4 time. Started learning it in 2022, and then 2023 I was doing it, and then my son was born. That's when I really started hitting a low with my career. Like I mentioned, my son was born. My wife was going through postpartum depression. It was a very difficult time for me, and I feel like during the 10 years that I was a correctional officer, I had hit a rock bottom moment in my life, to where the point where I had became a danger to myself, without getting too much into that, right? But I was like at a point where like I didn't want to do this anymore, and it's a lot. And sometimes like I didn't want to be here anymore, right? That's how much of the toll that job took. My wife was going through postpartum depression. 2020, this was in 2023, around summertime. She was having a very hard time with that, and me as a husband, I was being supportive as much as I could, but I was not in her shoes, so it was hard for me to understand what she was going through. So she finally said, like, babe, I need professional help. So I said, okay, well, let's find you some help. So she's going through that, and I had reached a point where I'm just like, damn, I really do not want to be in this job anymore. But it's my bread and butter. It's what pays the bills, right? But at the same time, I had found success with Amazon. I proved that it works, right? I proved what I was doing was working. This reselling, this buying online and reselling, and I could grow it, right? So went to the hiring authority, which was a warden at the prison I worked at. I submitted a memorandum to move from full-time to part-time. Submitted that paperwork, told them what was going on in my personal life with my wife. About a month later, I got a response, and they denied my request to go from full-time to part-time. Based on everything that I had mentioned with what was going on in my personal life, they denied it. So that's when I was like, okay, you know what? I can't do this anymore. So I woke up one day, November 6, 2023, which was not last year, before. Yeah, 2023. So a little over a year ago. Woke up, was on the side of the bed, and my wife looked at me. She goes, "You all right?" I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So drove to work, and on the drive to work, I broke down, and I started kind of like thinking about everything that career had put me through. Right, I worked 3 state prisons. One of them was 8 hours from where I'm from. Slept in my car numerous times. Ended up in the ER one time in my life. Almost losing my life because I was dehydrated, so to the point where I almost didn't make it. Putting my life on the line every single day for this career, and then the one time I asked for something because of what's going on in my personal life, they say no. So I broke down and I wanted to talk to somebody, right? But I didn't want to call anybody from work or my coworkers because they were going to talk me out of staying in that job or leaving the job. They're gonna want me to stay, right? Because the whole mindset when you come into and I'm sure you guys know this, but when you have a 9 to 5, when you have a job like for me, right? Especially in this career, you're conditioned to believe that this is the only way that you're going to make money. If you want to make more money, you're going to work overtime. But when you're 57, you're going to retire, and then you're going to go enjoy life. Like that was what was instilled in me from the beginning when I started that job, even before that. So that was that was the belief that I had, right? So when I found this opportunity with Amazon, it was a lifeline for me, an opportunity to potentially walk away, which I eventually did. So I drove into work, and on the way there, right before I pulled in, I called the suicide hotline, and I said, "Hey, this is not an emergency. I'm not going to do anything, but I just want to talk to somebody. Like I just want somebody to hear me out, because I'm in desperation for help. But I don't want to talk to a coworker because I don't want to get talked out of leaving this job, or I don't want to get talked out of the decision I'm going to do of walking away right now. So I just need somebody to hear me out. So I talked to her, the person, and she goes, if your son came to you in this situation and told you like, hey, I don't want to be in this job anymore, what would you tell him? I'm like, son, just leave. Like, don't trip, just bounce. So I said, okay. So as soon as I hung up with her, she goes, you're gonna be all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I just want to just let it out. Just talk to somebody. Called work, and I said, hey, I'm not coming back. Like, I'm done. Hey, everything all right, man? Everything all right? Like, nah, but I'm good. Like, this is it. So I go in, turn my badge in, and yeah, it was an emotional moment, man, because it was 10 years of my life. It was all my, early 20s until like, early 30s. And it was, I devoted a lot of time, a lot of energy into that career. And at one point I thought I was going to work up until retirement, but that wasn't the case. So that was when I had Amazon to fall back on. I said, okay, now let me this new opportunity reselling. Let me just do this full time now, and let me just let me put my time and effort into this. So yeah, man, that's what I did, and I'm very thankful for that. There's a lot of stuff that's said about Amazon, like the platform itself. They do shit that makes no sense sometimes, especially like with as a seller. But for a lot of us, it did provide that opportunity, for me at least, to pull me out of that rock bottom phase that I was in, and now it's essentially now I'm free. I broke free, and it's the greatest thing ever. So January 2024, I came across the opportunity with Amazon Influencer. So got approved for the program. I knew the potential. I saw what some people were making, and I said, okay, cool, let's give this a try. So I was doing that in conjunction with FBA. Didn't think I was going to be doing this full time, but here we are, man. So it's been great ever since.
And do you not do any of the Amazon anymore? Just the influencer program, or both?
So when with FBA, as far as like OA and RA, might count. Like I'm not doing any of that anymore. However, at some point I will do private label. But I have a couple things that I'm focusing on, a couple projects, or at least one project at a time. I'm trying to do, not trying to do everything at once. But yeah, eventually I'll do the private label stuff down the road. But as far as like reselling on Amazon right now, like OARA, like I once was, I'm not doing it anymore. So just an Amazon influencer right now. So
And what got you into that? What made you like aware of the situation?
So I had a buddy at the time who was doing it, and he told me about it, and I was like, okay, cool, let me try it. So I started doing it, and then in the beginning, wasn't seeing like it was only a couple hundred dollars, and the next month I did about 1,000. I was like, okay, cool. This is let me see how much I can build this, or how big I can build this, to see if I could maybe just do this alone. Because Amazon be tripping, bro. Like some of these, like I was sending the shipments in and restricted. I'm like, this was just fine when I sent it in. All of a sudden, it's restricted and make no sense. Try to call sales support, they don't support you for anything because, it was becoming very hard to manage with some of the shit that Amazon does, right? So started putting a little bit more focus on the influencer and building that with the reviews I was doing. So started implementing the Airbnb stuff, going into Airbnbs, doing reviews there. Up until like 6 months into the program, I started seeing like these seven to like eight grand months that I was having up till like the last Q4, just a couple months ago, I started seeing like consistent 10 grand months. So that's kind of how all that transpired with Amazon Influencer. It was the Airbnbs implementing that and then kind of growing it to where it is now. So as far as what I'm doing is it's just the Amazon Influencer right now with a little bit of the TikTok Shop affiliate.
John, I'm sure you got some educated questions on the influence program because it sounds like he's probably making the most money out of like anyone we've talked to with that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely. And that's kind of why we wanted to have you on, because a lot of people are kind of the same. If you listen to this podcast, like people, a lot of people have that same sentiment. Like Amazon is kind of tripping. Like it's time to diversify. They're doing Walmart. They're doing all this other stuff. What advice would you have for someone like kind of looking to go from FBA to the influencer program? Or there's also a lot of chatter online that the influencer program sucks right now. I've only been doing it since February, so almost a year. I'm happy with it. I mean, I hope to have months like you, like probably in about 6 months or so. So maybe touch on that, and then a lot of people probably don't know what Airbnb means.
Right.
So kind of walk through that.
Yeah. So as an Amazon FBA seller, you have an advantage when it comes to Amazon influencer, right? You understand how to scale. You understand how to operate and manage a business already, as opposed to someone who's staying at home, a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, that's just learning how to do product reviews, right? So you have that hustle. You understand what it takes to be successful, right? If you apply that same energy into the Amazon influencer program, you will find success with it, right? Now, there's a couple strategies that you need to implement, at least that have worked for me, and that is Airbnbs. Okay. The reason Airbnbs are so effective when it comes to Amazon influencer is because you're getting access to a lot of products that are in the higher commission rate. Like, for example, like all the home, kitchen, furniture stuff, all this stuff is higher price items. So everything is commission based percentage wise. So I think it's a 4%, right? If I'm not mistaken, for all like the home, kitchen stuff. So naturally, the more Airbnbs you do with, the more product reviews you do of these products, potentially the more commission you're going to make, right? So that's why this strategy is so effective. Now, everybody just can't go to 40 Airbnbs like I've been to in 2024, right? There's just, and you can't just be paying. I live in California, so a lot of these Airbnbs are expensive. So I have to work out some kind of deal with the Airbnb owner to be able to go into the home. But depending who you talk to, if you go into like Facebook, these Facebook groups, if you go into Reddit, it's all doom and gloom with the Amazon Influence Program. It's saturated.
I was reading a thread last night on Facebook, and there was like 100 comments, and everyone was like, "This is terrible. I doubled my video count, and my commissions are even less." I'm like, I might just leave this group because like that hasn't really been my experience. I really don't like need this.
Now think about that. That's your competition. That's our competition, right? Doom and gloom.
That was the
program is saturated.
Like, yeah, stop.
What do we do as Amazon sellers when a listing gets saturated with too many sellers, the price tanks, right? We go on to the next one. We try to find different ways to give yourself an edge, right? Airbnb is the edge. Why? Because a lot of people are not going to do it. A lot of people are stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads, or they were sold this dream they're going to make 10 grand a month on the first month, like some of these courses out there that are giving people that promise. If you can really implement the strategy and you can go into these Airbnbs, do product reviews on this higher priced items in this category, you will find success with it, right? Now, what I've been doing over the last 4 months is also implement Creator Connections. So Creator Connections does offer the higher commission rates for that the brands have these campaigns that they're offering for influencers like us. So I have been have my VA. That's another thing. Another advantage that we have is we know how to outsource some of this like the technical stuff, right? Is you just have a VA to help you with like the messaging brands, uploading the videos to your storefront, all the stuff that really takes some time. As an Amazon seller, you have the edge because you understand, for the most part, right, everyone that has a VA as an Amazon seller understands this process. If you apply that to Amazon Influencer, then you will have an edge when it comes to doing the program. So the Airbnb stuff it's great because not a lot of people do it. And if people do it, they might just kind of do a few. But to really find success with it, you need to do like, for numbers, you need to do about, I'll say 30 to really start seeing like the $10,000 months, just from on-site commissions. And then you have Creator Connections as another way to make money off of this as well.
That makes about sense because I've only done, I'd say maybe 15 Airbnbs. Mainly it's just been like, oh, we're going away, so we're staying somewhere. But I really got to get that going again, for sure. I've been doing a lot of Creator Connections. What's kind of you say you can't pay full price for the Airbnbs. So people are probably like, well, what is he doing? How is he getting them cheaper? So, I mean, if you want to reveal your strategy, if you don't.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I was trying to reach out to the owner and have him let me come in off hours or like when the cleaners are there. But I was trying to take the conversation to like a text message or a phone call. A lot of Airbnb owners will be apprehensive. They'll be kind of reluctant to want to do that. Like, nah, they're not going to want to have anybody in the home that's not booking via the app, right? You might find a couple that will do that, and I have found success with that. But for the most part, they're going to be not willing to let you come in if you didn't book anything on the app. So I tried this new strategy that kind of came up with it and doing it so much. And that was working out a special offer with the Airbnb owner, right? So what I was doing is, like, let's say I'm going to go into a unit today, right? Check-in time for Airbnb today is usually 4 p.m., 3 p.m. So what I would do is, okay, if I see the unit is vacant, there's nobody booking it, I will send them a message as close to 4 p.m. as possible. And I'll say, hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm a content creator. I do product reviews on Amazon. I just wanted to know if this type of usage would be permissible in your unit. I don't touch anything. I record all the videos on my phone. I can show you what I record if you like. This is my storefront. Very basic. I don't touch anything. Everything will be left clean, immaculate as it was found. Something like that, right? Very brief. And they'll say, yeah, that's fine, right? But I don't just go ahead and book. I said, would you be willing to work out a special offer since what I will only be utilizing for a couple hours and everything will be left clean as it was, right? Because they want their unit booked, I will also add, and I'll be sure to leave a 5-star review. So that's like music to their ears. So I'd be like, okay, yeah. How does, how much are you willing to pay, or, what seems reasonable? So I don't like to pay more than like $250, $300 in California where I live here. But other parts of the country, you can get a very nice Airbnb for like $200-$300, right? You can work out that special offer still. You can try to see if they're willing to negotiate, or you could just book it, right? You can just book it and then just do it. But that's typically the price that I paid. So I spent about anywhere from like $8,000 to like $9,000 all 2024 just on Airbnbs, just from going into Airbnbs and doing that. But that's kind of what I average now every month, is anywhere from like $8,000 to like $12,000 in commissions. So it definitely is worth the investment. So,
can you explain a little bit? Like I don't do this, but John does this, and a lot of other people on the pod have. What's like the thing that makes this, like, why do you make so much money with this? Is it the number of videos? Is it the quality of products you're reviewing? Like that's one thing. If I could have this explained to me, well, maybe you're the one that's going to do it here, then I would be more inclined to do this. But it's
yeah,
like,
it's
hard to put a number on it.
It's the quantity of videos, but not just on any kind of product. Because remember, this is commission based on the sale price. So you have to have a good portion of your videos be higher priced items, right? This is why Airbnb is so effective, because you have the furniture, you have the TV stands, the mattresses, the bed frames, all the pool filter stuff, the pool equipment. Like, there's so much stuff on Amazon. Like, I didn't realize how much stuff was on Amazon until I started doing this, right? But the key is to have. See, I have 3,300 and like almost 3,400 videos. I would say about 90% of those are from Airbnbs. All the higher ticket stuff, all the higher priced items. So that's the key to make the higher commissions, is to have your library or your storefront be filled with product reviews, and they don't have to be anything extravagant, right? They should be simple. Just talk about them, because a lot of Amazon customers, they just want to see what it looks like how it looks out displayed, right? Like the TV stand, that you want to see how it looks like with the TV on it, right? Very simple, very basic, but the key is to have the majority of your videos be higher priced items. That's the key. So someone that has 3,000 videos of like lower ticket items, like $20 items, $50 items, even $100 items, is going to make a lot less than someone who has, like myself, the $500, the $1,000 items, the $2,000 items, right? That's what really makes the difference, right? And I think that people, and this is the problem, right? Not all courses, but a lot of courses teach, oh, you can just make money, review stuff at your home. I have a problem with that, because you're not going to make the multiple for 4-figure months just by reviewing stuff in your home, right? You're only going to get maybe 200-300 videos from your home. This is where, being able to access other homes like Airbnbs or short-term rental properties is gonna be key, right? Create connections. If you're, you can have 100 campaigns. I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. With Creator Connections, there's campaigns for the videos that you have already done in these Airbnbs, right? So out of the 3,000 videos I've done, I'll probably have like 50 campaigns that brands have currently, just from the videos I've done at Airbnb. So all what I have to do is just link the video to the campaign for a review I did at Airbnb. So now it's giving me access to the 10, the 20, the 30% commissions for Creator Connections. This is why I love Creator Connections, because it's literally just giving you the higher commission rates for stuff that you're already done, on top of like the free products that you get. to review and then link the campaign. So in short, I know I'm going off but in short, to answer your question, it's the higher priced items, the amount of higher priced items you have in your library or in your storefront, in quantity, right? So you would need like a few thousand of those, right? Which, I mean, that's not a lot of people will do. I know John is I know he goes into Airbnbs and does all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, I haven't done, and I think that's the difference too, because I could definitely attest to that, because I have about, I don't know, 2,300 videos. Like, I'm not making anyone near where you're making, just because I feel like a lot of it's probably more like creator connection stuff, and just like the Airbnbs, like I think in PA and around aren't as like probably lavish as they are in like California. Like I haven't been to an Airbnb that has like a pool or like, you know, anything like that, or any
Right.
main ones. I mean, I might, there's like a place close to us that might have more stuff like that. I might venture out into there, but I think that would be like almost my main strategy. To be honest, I actually think the Airbnb angle is different, or it's actually easier. Like as someone who's gotten like 600 or 700 things from creator connections, like it's a lot to process, it's a lot to get rid of, it's a lot to do videos of, you know, not everything. I would say like I'm in about like 250 creator connections campaigns right now, and like some of them only pay out like $3 in a month. Other ones will pay out like 500 to 1,000, but for every one of those, it's like very few and far between. So I'm thinking about switching up my entire angle to just doing the Airbnbs. So I do have the capital, and I do have like these things. So like when we travel, like usually we'll go to like a concert or a game or a comedian or something like that. And usually those areas are populated with like tourist places, right? And like we stayed at one, I forgot what city it was in, but it was definitely like an Airbnb. Like they bought everything on Amazon. There was a sauna in the house, there was a massage chair, like all this stuff. And like the saunas already made me like $400, right? And that Airbnb cost me, and this was the full price. I don't know, it was like $200 or something, right? But in my head, I was like, all right, like if I sold like two of these saunas, like that could probably cover it. Like it was just very clear, like everything was brand new, and like sure enough, like that. So I think now I have like the almost like, yeah, like this is the route to go. Like you will make your money back. And now I think I have a pretty good. And if the house isn't really like that, I will say to some people, like you just have to get scrappy, and like it sucks, but like you're reviewing like cabinet handles or like a toaster or whatever, and it adds up over time. And I think just another point to you, I 100% agree with you. Like you're just not going to get it done being in your house if you're like a normal person. One of my huge advantages was like I'm a business owner. Like I have MacBooks, I have monitors, I have printers for the business, I have camera equipment. Like I have a lot of higher end stuff here, and we literally just moved into a new place, so we bought a whole other bunch of stuff for that. So I do think like I 100% agree with you. Like the money is definitely there, but yeah, like just sitting around collecting creator connection stuff is not going to really get you to those 10K months.
Right. And then you have another way with Airbnbs is if you have a friend who's a influencer as well that's nearby, you guys can meet up together, split the cost of the Airbnb, and you guys could do reviews like that. My friend Ashley, I know that's what she does with her friend. Uh, uh, they meet up, split the cost, and then they go to the Airbnbs together, and they just both do the reviews. So the program has changed from what I've seen and talked to for people that have been in the program for multiple years, like when it first started. Before it was easier to make. You could make the 10 grand months with just stuff around your house, right? But over time, the program has become more saturated. True. Amazon does control the carousels. They place your videos, or they decide not to place your videos. But the one thing that you can do is just continue to upload videos via the Airbnb stuff. So your strategy has to change a little bit. But it's all about adaptability, right? It's like I mentioned about before with Inmate, a prisoner who got busted, dealing drugs on the street. the mindset doesn't change, right? They just have to adapt to the new environment. So same thing with the program. Yeah, it's still the Amazon influencer program. It's just we have to adapt to these changes. But your mindset has to remain the same. Just keep hustling, but hustle in a way that the competition doesn't think about, which is Airbnbs, career connections, things like that. I'm gonna take it a step further. While I've been thinking about it, having my a VA in the Philippines going to Airbnb, so I'll pay for the Airbnb, which is like super cheap. Have them do the reviews and send them back to me, do voiceovers. But the problem is that a lot of the stuff over there is not on Amazon because it's like a different country. But then you have offsite, right? We talked about Amazon influencer, on-site commissions, but then you have offsite, which is the Amazon associates. This is where you drive traffic to the link and make through links, right? Bring the traffic from social media, things like that. That's another whole different way that you can supplement income or commissions on this program as well. One of them being like a Facebook deals group. What I'm going to start here shortly is a deals group on X, right? Where I'll just post daily deals on there for anyone interested in following the community, and hope to get some conversions and make commissions that way. But these are the whole different other ways that you can really leverage that associate side with links. Another one will be like YouTube, right? So there's just different strategies that you really have to think about implementing if you are trying to like really scale this like past the 10 to like 15 and 20 grand. So it's not just, it won't happen just with on-site. You have to really implement these other avenues within the program itself. So
for the Facebook deals group, are this stuff, is it like when you're posting in there, is it like on special, or you're just like, hey, like I just
so there's a section on the associates, on your associates account, has promo codes, right? So the promo codes are, if you click on that, you'll have access to all the brands that are running deals with promo codes, right? So what you do, you'll just share products that are, that you want to share on the group. I have my VA do all this, but she knows how to do it. Just post a deal, enter the promo code, and that's how I typically do that. Another way that we do it is we follow other Facebook communities, like other deals groups, and we kind of see what they got, and then we'll just kind of copy, not copy and paste, but like take that same deal, that same promo code, because we have access to it as well, right? So it's kind of like storefront stocking in a way, and then do like that as well. So you can have it just general, like post any kind of deals. You can have it. I'm fluent in Spanish, so like you have a Spanish group for Spanish community, and then you can have any kind of niche, right? Whether it's like camping, whatever, any kind of niche, and then just post deals that pertain to that or interest that group or that group of people that I want. So there's different ways you can go with this. It's like a whole another area that you can leverage as well.
Yeah, you're getting into the SEO stuff there, right?
Right,
I've seen a lot of stuff. Yeah, there's like Fat Kid Deals on Twitter. That's like a massive one. That's what they do.
Fat Kid Deals, yes, that's exactly what they do.
That's gotta be the biggest one.
Like I was because I follow a couple accounts that on X or Twitter that that post like anytime like the new Pokemon card drops or like the new set. So this morning Target had a drop, and it was the new set that dropped, and they posted, and it was an affiliate link to Target, so they're a Target affiliate. So I was like, damn, imagine how much money these people are doing, just from like affiliate commissions from like people just buying it through this link. So yeah, it's a whole nother avenue that you can take advantage of. But it does take time to build, though. It does take time to build.
Yeah, SEO is like a long game.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time to build. Yeah.
Yeah, and you gotta get kind of in the niches too. Like general
Yeah,
things, fine, but when you're focused on card collectors or like you said Spanish stuff like that,
right,
that's like where the riches are, I think.
right, right.
Well, about an hour and a half here. What do you got, John? Anything to finish us off here?
I guess we'll kind of end it. Are you doing any UGC?
I'm not currently doing any kind of UGC like directly with brands. I have a problem. I'm just keep it real. I have a problem with people telling me like how they want stuff. It just kind of came from like working in prison so long and telling people telling me try to tell me what to do. I just personally have a problem with that. It's me. But UGC is a whole another avenue, opportunity that you can take advantage of working directly with brands. But I don't do any of that personally, no. Because for me, it's like, okay, I'm gonna take time to do something, and they're gonna want a revision. I'm like, yeah, no.
That's the new
You know,
buzzword. It's like influencer program's dead. Like you gotta do UGC or whatever. I have one more question, but I actually just forgot what I was gonna say.
you got a TikTok shop too.
Oh yeah, TikTok shop. That's
Yeah.
definitely interesting. How you doing with that?
So I took some time off, just in general, in December. Just kind of spent time with the family. It was the first Q4 that I actually didn't sell or like try to go hustle and go to stores and try to find stuff. So I took the whole month of December off and like part of January. But I started back up just last week, back on TikTok shop as well. Um, so yeah, we'll see. I haven't hit it big with it yet, but maybe at the end of the year, maybe I'll come back and let you guys know. Hopefully, I made some money, some good money. But the potential is there, though. The potential is there with TikTok shop. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's more just you hit one that goes viral, man. They make like 15 grand off the video. So
Yeah, that's
it's
the
like a win.
moonshot. Yeah, so mainly what I'm doing now is Amazon influencer, and then I'm working on some education to help others get started with it, and then educate them the right way how to go about doing this. Because over time, I had a lot of people in law enforcement profession or people I used to work with, or just in other departments that see law enforcement is a very stressful job. It's very stressful, and a lot of people sometimes all they know is to make money, I need to do overtime. That's the belief that's instilled into you is from early on is I need to make more money. I'm gonna do overtime. I'm gonna do overtime. So you're spending more time in the place that it's messing up your health. So I've had a lot of people reach out to me and ask me like, "Hey, how do I get started? How do I get started?" But I don't have anything for them, right? So that's one of the things I'm working on now with somebody else. So that's the one thing I'm doing now, and then just buying Bitcoin. That's the two main things that I'm doing now. So
I've been
yeah.
trading crypto like all the time. That's what I've been doing for like 3
Oh,
months.
Is that what you've been doing?
Yeah, I've been trading crypto since probably November. So as soon as Trump got elected, I just started. I was like, I'm gonna just trade meme coins all the time, and I've had some success, but like then you just lose it all. So it's just that's how I've
Yeah.
made like $7,500 and you just lose it over and over. So I'm still doing it. That's kind of my goal is just like hit one big there. But
You could get really big with those meme coins.
yeah, it's insane, dude. Some of these
Yeah, you get really big. Yeah. So I do a little bit of trading. I got a lot of free time now. So I do a little bit of trading, like stocks. I do a little bit of crypto, not too much. But mainly I just buy Bitcoin and then just store it in cold storage.
Yeah.
That's all I do, honestly. But yeah, it's definitely fun though. It's definitely fun if you get it big, for sure.
Yeah. It's funny when you were talking about the crypto stuff. I put a affiliate link for like a trading platform on my Instagram story like probably 2 weeks ago, and it's called like a bot, but it's not. It's obviously not a bot. But the way people interpret it was like, "Oh, does this trade for me?" And I'm like, "Do you think that I have some magic bot? Like, what? You think I have some money printer that I'm going to give it away? Like, I like, how do you not get scammed all the time if you believe something like that?"
What platform is it?
BullX.
Oh, BullX. Okay.
Yeah.
That one lets you
yeah.
So you have to deposit USDC, I'm assuming, right?
No, you buy Sol on Coinbase or Binance or whatever, then you transfer your Sol to BullX.
And then use the Sol to swap it for the meme coin? Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's like instant swaps. I mean, yeah, basically instant. It's like 1 second or whatever. And you're watching like 1 second charts, literally, dude. It's like insane shit.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. The charts.
Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. Anything else, John? Any words you got to leave the viewers?
Yeah, I was gonna say any words of wisdom to leave the peeps.
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's, I know your community is a lot of Amazon sellers, Walmart sellers. Just my advice is, if you guys ever want to try something else, maybe everything that Amazon's doing, it's not really aligning with your values, or maybe it's just making it hard for you. For me, it's all about sleeping well at night. How can I sleep better at night with no stress, right? When I had the $50,000-$60,000 in inventory tied up with Amazon, like, I didn't sleep well at night. But there is other opportunities out there, with not only within Amazon, but the whole affiliate marketing, digital marketing, stuff like that. There's other opportunities out there. So my recommendation is, if you're an Amazon seller already, why not try the influencer stuff? You have an edge, you have the understanding of how to make money online already. You have the hustle. You understand how to scale. You understand how to outsource stuff. You would kill it and with the Amazon influencer. So that's my advice.
Sweet. And where can people find you?
At the Zoo Hustle on Instagram.
Cool deal. Well, thanks so much for doing this. This was awesome. I was like so fascinated. Go follow, like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
All right, thank you guys.
Peace.